Welcome to Bound by Books. I'm one of your hosts, Sherry Hayes, and I am joined today by Tina Moss. Hey, Tina.
Hi, how are you today?
Hot.
Well,
we are hitting 90 today.
Oh my God, I can't live without air conditioning. I am one of those people who just will melt away.
Yeah, I didn't grow up with air conditioning, and I don't have air conditioning now. So I'm very used to if you see my hair, if you're watching on YouTube and you see my little hairs flying in the wind, that is because I do have a fan blowing on me right now. Otherwise, I would be dying. And I really don't want to melt while I'm doing the podcast. So yeah. So what have you been up to writing wise, Tina?
So I have the short story coming out in the Claimed Among the Stars anthology. I actually just got the cover back for that, and I think I'll have it ready by the time this podcast goes up. So I'll pop it on the screen if it is, and if not, I'll pop the anthology cover on the screen or both. But I've been writing away for that story that's coming out in a couple weeks. And then I have to finish up Alien's Temptation, which is coming out in July. So I'm just all the words right now.
It's crazy that you're on. That's the third book in your Alien series, right?
Yep.
Just say, I remember when the first one came out, it's hard to believe you're going to be releasing number 3.
I'm so excited.
You write so much faster than I do.
And honestly, it's still not fast enough for me. I want to get the words down faster, but as you know, and as you experience with the day job, it's just it's pretty much impossible. But how about you? What have you been writing or up to?
Well, I just got the proof back for the paperback of Change. Yay. So I'm excited about that. I'm going to release the paperback in the plan is July.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been a long time coming. I released the ebook in 2 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And I just never got around to doing, I had some cover designer issues and just never got the paperback formatted and uploaded and things like that. So I'm finally getting around to doing that. And then I am working on Claiming His Kiss, which is the 4th book in my Servant's Kiss BDSM series. So
awesome. Do you know when that's coming out?
The plan is October.
Awesome.
So I want to get a little further into writing it before I do the pre-order, just because of my crazy life. I don't want to put the pre-order up and have readers expect that it's going to be there, and then I have to pull it, and I just don't want to do that. It's just, I hate disappointing readers like that. I want to be able to say, hey, it's up there. But in that vein, that kind of brings us to our topic today.
So excited.
So we're going to kind of talk today about some non-traditional book launching, book marketing, book funding methods. What's out there other than just uploading your book to the retailers, the traditional retailers of Amazon, Apple, Barnes & Noble, Kobo, Google Play. Kind of what is some of the other stuff that's out there that authors can utilize?
Exactly.
So, let's see. I guess the first one we'll talk about is the one I am venturing out to, and one you have been doing for a while. So this is one we both have a little bit of experience in, although you have a lot more than I do, which is Patreon.
Yes. I would say arguably it's probably one of the 2 biggest non-traditional platforms for book publishing. And essentially it's not even necessarily publishing your book, although a lot of authors do put writing content up there, which makes sense. Some authors will put pre-published chapters up or works in progress, or they'll give early access to their patrons. It's just depending on all how you do it. But there's a ton of other things that you can do on Patreon. And one of the things that is popular in my genre, in alien romance, and I think will be very popular in your genre of BDSM as well, is Not Safe for Work, or NSFW art. And I really love this. Have you had any NSW art done yet? for your
I
stories?
haven't. It is. I did put it as one of my tiers to do, to do that type of artwork. What I put it is what's my artwork. I said, book, related to my books, artwork that's
Mhm.
related to my books. Some may be not safe for work. So they might all be, but I figure,
Sure.
I would be more like key scenes in my book,
Mhm.
and some of those are going to be maybe not safe for work. I do write
Right.
some pretty steamy stuff, but I decided to end up venturing into Patreon because um it almost a little bit like motivation because I really need something to, I guess, hold me accountable for getting
Mhm.
the words in.
Mhm.
And what better way to hold myself accountable than having to upload constant content
Right.
to people who are paying me for that content. I need
Mhm.
to, that kind of puts pressure on me to put that in there. So my patrons will actually get to read the drafts, like the
Wow.
chapter by chapter as I write them of my books.
That's
Um,
very neat.
which I know is a little scary for people, but I actually am pretty particular when I write. So
Mhm.
um while I make changes at post first draft, they're not like, I know when Danielle, one of our other hosts, when she writes her first draft, I don't think she puts any dialogue tags or anything
I
like that in
that
her
that
first
that breaks my
drafts.
brain. I can't do that. I am very
I
much like
can't.
you. I need to
Mm-mm.
edit as I go, and because of the nature of my rapid release schedule, my editor actually edits right behind me. So like
Oh wow.
as I'm done and have edited a chapter and feel like it's good to go, it goes off to her, it comes back
Mhm.
to me, and we do it again because I can't I'm not one of those who can put all the words on the page for a first draft and then go back and edit. That is not my style. I need to have
Yeah,
each
I can't
chapter
do that
done.
either. I mean, like I said, Danielle, I think she does like at least 4 drafts, and I'm going, what? I would drive me nuts. I'm first draft, and then maybe one more quick run through to
Mhm.
tweak some things, and then it's gone. Like
Exactly.
I'm out the door. So yeah, but what other than uh not safe for work content? And do you do early? Do you do early
So
content as well,
I
or?
do some early content
Mm,
in the sense that I will give some spicy scenes.
mm,
I will give some behind the scene looks at what I'm working on, and that could be early access to covers or early access to chapters. I'll run specials where if you are in a certain tier or if you decide to move up to a certain tier, you'll get a paperback copy or you'll get a free ebook copy of whatever I'm currently releasing or running on sale. I really like the artwork because it also helps indie artists. So we're indie
mm-hmm,
authors, and then we're also helping other creators. So I love that connection there. I also like to do read alongs. This is a
mm-hmm.
new thing that I started in April where I go back to some of my books and we do a read along together, and my patrons get to see my thoughts on those particular chapters. I also do that in my reader group on Facebook, which is free, but my patrons, whereas everybody gets my text based responses, my patrons get video responses. So I'll do video
Mm-hmm.
responses of what I was thinking about the chapters and what I was thinking when I was writing them, how I react to them reading them after, and that's been a lot of fun. So there's so many things you can do on
Yeah.
Patreon.
Yeah, there really is a lot more, and they suggest some things too. I mean, when you
Mm-hmm.
set it up, they're like, oh, a Patreon only newsletter, you can do merch, like you can do exclusive
Yeah,
merch,
that's
which
actually a
is
good little like
awesome.
sideway if we want to talk about merch
Yeah,
at all.
yeah, I
Um,
think that's great.
so first go ahead, like talk a little bit more about the patron benefits and then we'll
Oh, I
jump
mean,
in.
yeah, I mean, just they have just where you can do exclusive polls
Yes.
and things like that. And there's just so many. There's probably like 20 different suggestions that
Mm-hmm.
they give you on what you can provide your patron, and you get to choose which tiers those go into, and how much you want to charge. You can charge as little as $1, and really up to however much you want. I mean,
Right.
I don't know that there is a limit. I'm sure from a person perspective, how much people are going to pay, there probably is. But as far as what they'll allow you to do a tier for, I have seen some authors who actually offer tiers of like some 50, some $100 a month tier that gives them a private, or at least the group that's in that tier, they get to go to a private dinner with the author at a book conference. Like if they come to a book conference, the author will actually take them out to dinner, essentially, and just have like a one-on-one, which I think is really cool. If you've got, if you have, people who want to, readers who actually really want to sit down and have an hour long, discussion with you, whether it's about books or marketing, or maybe they're an aspiring author or something like that, it's a great thing. I mean, it's a great option. So
you can also do that. You can do private live streams for your patrons if you want to do something virtually. I do have that as an option in one of my higher tiers, like a monthly, live stream with me where they can ask questions, or we can just chat and, have our tea in our respective homes. But it's a fun way to really connect with people, I think, on a deeper level than we get to with our regular readers. And it also, of course, helps to finance an author's career, which we need.
Yes. And and diversifying your income is not a bad thing. It's always a good thing.
So important.
So important. And you want to, when you're setting up your tiers, one of the most important things I thought when I was setting it up, they kind of remind you as they're setting up and setting up your pricing for your tiers, is that you need to be thinking about how much time investment it's going to take you. And if you're doing like artwork or merch or things like that, how much monetary investment that it's going to cost you to do this for your patrons. So you don't want to, I know it's so easy, sometimes as authors, we think like, oh, well, maybe I should just give them access to this for $1 a month. And it's like, well, think about it. How much of your time are you investing in, maintaining this Patreon, making the content, uploading the content? Do you have to pay an artist to do the drawings, to upload the content? All of that has to be figured out. And to still give you to where you're making some sort of money to for that investment of time that you're doing. So.
And I've seen a lot of people, this is not true of my tiers, my dollar patrons still get access to the posts that I put on Patreon, but some people, not just authors who are running Patreons, will do the dollar tier. Essentially, it's just a donation. They actually don't, the patrons don't get anything for that particular tier. And that, of course, is up to you, which is similar to other things like Ko-fi, which is KO-FI. It's an alternative to Patreon, and it has similar things with tiers and memberships that you can do. It's just essentially another platform. It's not quite as big as Patreon, but I've tried Ko-fi before, and I know that other people do it as well. And then some people will put links in their bio or in their link tree or whatever it is that are Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal. And it just says basically like, if you want to support me, if you want to buy me a coffee, like, you can donate here. It's essentially a donation button for authors, creators, etc. So I think all of those things have their pluses and minuses. I think personally for me, it feels a little weird to ask for, something for nothing. But I don't judge anybody else who does. I think for me, I just want to be able to give something back. It's kind of in my nature. But again, there's nothing wrong with doing that if it's what you're comfortable with and what your readers are comfortable with.
Right. Yeah.
But also let's dive into merch, because that's one of my favorite things. And this podcast is going up, I think, before my official announcement, but I will give our YouTube watchers a little sneak peek because I do have more merch coming out, which I'm super excited about sharing. It's some t-shirts, sweatshirts, tank tops, tote bags of this particular alien pickle proud reader design. So you have to go over to YouTube in order to see what the design is if you want a sneak peek. But you can also do so many things with merch beyond like clothing and bags and mugs, etc. You can do things that we traditionally think of as swag and that we would give out at conferences. Things like stickers, keychains, bookmarks, art prints, etc. All of those things can be merch that you put on. I recommend putting it on your website, but you can also do it on a shop like Etsy or wherever you're comfortable with and whatever your, technological experience is. I like the website and I recommend that usually because you can do it for free through a platform like WordPress and WooCommerce rather than the listing fees on Etsy. But Etsy also has its pluses because it has a built-in audience that might be looking for things besides just you as an author. So again, pluses and minuses. But merch is awesome and a great way to extend beyond your writing. And then, of course, you can sell signed paperbacks and hardcovers.
Yes, which are very, very popular, especially if you are going to do exclusive covers or exclusive hardcovers, things like that. And going back a little bit to the Patreon, you could actually offer, if you're selling on merch on your website, you can most of those website platforms for merch, they offer the ability for you to have coupon codes, have promo codes. And so you can offer your patrons an exclusive code to get, 10% off or 15% off or whatever of any merch that they would buy from your store.
Exactly.
So, or maybe you could offer them free shipping if they, buy from your, if they're a patron. That would be really good because we all know, at least these days, shipping costs a lot of money.
It sure does. It sure does.
So, I know that I 2 years ago, I think I shipped something to Indonesia and it cost me almost twice as much as book costs.
Yep. I've had that experience
that was
before.
2 years ago. So I have no idea how much it would cost now to ship that to Indonesia. But if you have a patron that, is in across the world, the other half of the world, and you say, hey, if you are one of my patrons, you support me every month in this tier, you can, anything in my merch store, you can get for 15% off, or you can get for free shipping or whatever. They're going to usually, because I find that most of the time, most of my readers, if they're overseas, they would love to have printed copies of my books, but they're hesitant because of the cost of shipping. They want the signed copies. They just can't justify paying the cost of the book plus the cost of the shipping.
Right.
It's a lot of money. I mean, you think about it, if you're talking about having to basically pay like close to $60 for a single signed copy of a paperback, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that's an awesome
incentive.
Idea.
Yeah, the incentive is awesome. So let's see, what should we talk about next? What platform?
So the second biggest platform I can think of in terms of actual non-traditional publishing is Kickstarter. And Kickstarter is interesting because Kickstarter in the author community, I will say, started out a little controversial. People were not so thrilled with the idea that readers had to put money up front before they actually received the book. So essentially, they were paying for the production of the book. And it started out with a lot of controversy. And I feel like some big name authors got onto the Kickstarter platform and suddenly everybody was like, Kickstarter is totally great.
Yeah. Well, I think that part of that reason, though, is because I think that a lot of people, especially in the author community, when it was first kind of presented, it felt very GoFundMe-ish.
That's a great point. It did feel that way.
That really does kind of, because GoFundMe, you really are, with Kickstarter, you have the goal and all of that. But once that goal is met, you have told people what they're going to get. And, that's just part of it's almost like, it's similar to Patreon in the fact that, like, if you if you pledge for this tier, you get X, Y, and Z. And if you
Mhm.
pledge to this higher tier, then you get X, Y, and Z. Plus you get, these extra benefits or extras. Um, if they meet their goal by a certain date,
Mhm.
then there's always like extra incentives. So it
Right.
incentivizes people to pledge early and all of that. So like you said at the beginning, it did feel very much like GoFundMe, which is, GoFundMe can
Yeah.
just be like, here, give me money.
I think part of the issue too was some of the early writers on the platform were newer to the author community and also like hadn't written the book yet that they were suddenly, kickstarting for. And again, I don't think there's
Yeah.
anything inherently wrong with any of these methods. I think you're exactly right in the way that it was presented, especially in the beginning. It did have very much those vibes of like, GoFundMe and kind of like a pick me a vibe to it. Though I think now Kickstarter is pretty much widely accepted in the community. I know a lot of authors who have used it successfully for different projects, things like audiobooks or book boxes or special editions of hardcovers or paperbacks or anniversary editions, etc. I myself have thought about doing it for audiobooks because audiobooks are so expensive. And creating a Kickstarter would help alleviate some of those costs and make sure that the money was there. I think of Kickstarter almost like pre-orders in the sense that, you have enough to see if it's worth doing, but there is no guarantee until a certain amount is met. I think that's the difference there. Like with a pre-order, you're going to get it no matter what. With Kickstarter, they have to get to a certain tier. The only thing I don't know about Kickstarter, and I don't know if you can answer this question, if the goal isn't met, are the people that have said I pledged this month this much to it still like beholden to paying that?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't believe so. I think it just says, that the goal hasn't been met and that which is again different from GoFundMe.
Right.
Because GoFundMe,
it's happening no matter what.
Right. Unless the person gives that money back, willingly gives that money back. Once you donate it to GoFundMe, through GoFundMe, that money is gone. You don't.
Right. Then I don't see the harm essentially in Kickstarter. Like, for example, if you're going to put up for a book box, right? And you want to know, is the investment to create this book box going to be beneficial or not? It is important to know, are people interested in this? Will they pay this much for it, etc., before you commit to doing that? Because it could be a very large financial commitment. Same with an audiobook and other projects like that. So
now I have heard audiobooks are not, it's a lot harder to do audiobooks, at least at the moment, on Kickstarter than it is to do print books.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
So now whether that'll be the case a year from now, who knows? Because the book world is constantly changing, and I think the more as the audiobook market continues to grow, and B, as Kickstarter kind of becomes more of a accepted alternative source for authors, I think it may be more things. Because I have the same issue. Kickstarter would be something I would love to consider for audiobooks, because like you said, it is extremely expensive to produce an audiobook. I have an audiobook. My Finding Anna series is hugely popular series for me. And I have the first 3 books as audiobooks. My previous publisher published them for me, did it through them, so I didn't have to pay for that. But when they went to go do the 4th one, it was because it was a much bigger book. It's a 146,000 word book.
Oh, wow.
So it's huge. When they went with two narrators, when they went to go get the quote on it,
it was just too much.
It was a $12,000 quote for this book. And, and they're like, no, we can't there's no way we can guarantee we're ever going to make our money back on this book. Or if we do, we could be talking 10 years from now and all of that. So they chose to not do it. Well, they sent it back on my lap. It's like, well, I don't have $12,000 just sitting around, to do it either. But I have people constantly asking me, if I have this audiobook, but
Mhm.
I mean, unless some miracle happens, it's not happening anytime soon because,
Yeah.
there aren't very many authors who can just, I mean, there's a few, I guess, but,
But
12,000
it's
for
a
any
good
author.
idea to, explore Kickstarter and see would that be a viable
Yeah.
option to make it a reality. I think it's great for a variety of different projects to explore and to
Yeah.
expand again and diversify your business. And I would say I think the last topic that could be for, again, non-traditional book funding is things that any creator can use, platforms like we're on now with YouTube or with TikTok or Instagram. Certain of them, YouTube and TikTok, have revenue streams built into their platforms that when you hit certain milestones on the platform, you can apply for to monetize your content. But all three also have sponsorship opportunities that are outside of the platforms. And sponsorship opportunities are open to whatever level that you're comfortable with and what products you're comfortable sponsoring. In the case of authors, I would always suggest trying to stay towards book related things. So, for example, I did a sponsorship with a book app that I had first used and tested and made sure it was comfortable. So, something I was comfortable promoting, and then doing a sponsored video on TikTok. You could do that on any of the platforms. You can reach out to those companies. A lot of the times, as you grow larger, companies will start to reach out to you. I would say create a media kit. Canva has great templates, and you can also Google media kit templates for creators, media kit templates for authors, have one available to be able to send to sponsors. But that's another whole revenue stream that I think a lot of people don't think about when they are an author. But I always say, you're not just necessarily an author. You have to kind of think of yourself as an author influencer. And I hate the term, but author influencer is kind of the way that social media is going. And if you're on the platforms and if you're already talking to readers, then you have to think about how else you can financially diversify beyond the books, if that's something that you're interested in doing.
Yeah, I know. My understanding is that with YouTube, if you can actually set up something, sponsors, a membership that is very similar to Patreon.
I think that's their community groupings. Their community tabs have that. You can do like a YouTube community membership.
Right. Yeah, you can. You may have seen it if you frequent YouTube for any length of time. Right down by the subscribe button, right next to it, you'll see a little join button. If the creator has a sponsorship community type opportunity, and it does allow you to join them. And some of them are very simple. Like some of them just do similar to the Patreon, where it's just a, pay us $1 a month, to be a member. You'll get early you get to see the videos, early, and you're helping support us. And then some, I think, get a little more complicated, where, you are paying more money to get, access to maybe a Discord server or, private Q&As or, things like that. So there's definitely diversification. And I think that's kind of the theme in any business these days,
Absolutely,
is diversification, because, and especially in the author community, because you do, even when we talk about diversification as far as, ebooks and audiobooks and paperbacks and hardcovers and things like that, it's still the same basic principle when it comes to utilizing these non-traditional avenues.
One I would add to that too, which is technically sub rights, which is more traditional in terms of like things that we're used to, right? If you're selling to a foreign publisher or to an audio publisher to create a book in a foreign language or an audiobook, those are kind of more traditional things that we think of. But there is one that kind of, I would say, skirts the line between traditional and non-traditional, and that is these mobile reading and mobile gaming apps. If you are exclusive to Amazon through the Kindle Unlimited program, you cannot do this because you have exclusivity with your ebooks, except for gaming. So if it's a mobile reading app, you can't put your book to them because they're essentially then competing with Amazon. If it's a gaming platform where essentially it's an interactive story, so the company will create visuals for your book, and think of it like kind of like an RPG back in the day when you play Zelda or Final Fantasy or something like that, right? It's kind of like that into a much lesser extent on your phone. You're not going to get Final Fantasy worlds on your phone. That would be lovely if you could, but no. But the gaming companies will take your story and sell it in that way. Now, of course, you get royalties for that, or some companies offer advances and then royalty shares. Always read the contracts for all of them, and I would say run them by a lawyer. It's very important that you do that because so many are popping up so quickly. There are some, bad eggs out there. You don't want to get caught up with them, but that is also another kind of non-traditional way to get your book out there and seen by different population of readers.
Right. Yeah. There's a lot of things, and there's always new ones cropping up every day.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to kind of keep an open mind and just look at the information. I was listening to another podcast, and they were talking about kind of some non-traditional options, and not necessarily different revenue streams, but just promotional type things like TikTok or Instagram, things like that. And they had the one lady on there had a pretty her rule of thumb was to invest at least 1 week in researching the platform or whatever thing you're looking to use or potentially use, and really do kind of almost a deep dive into it. See what it's all about, how it works, and how it would relate to you and your business. And then decide if it's something that you want to pursue. Absolutely. Because just doing a surface level look at it, it doesn't necessarily get you the information that you need, because you could be wasting your time, or you could be missing out on a huge opportunity.
Absolutely. So yeah.
Well, I think we covered quite a bit of things. Hopefully we gave you some ideas and some things to think about as to doing some non-traditional stuff.
And if there's anything you want us to do the deep dive on in a podcast, just leave us a comment on our YouTube channel and let us know, and we can go do the research for you.
Yeah, we'll have to check it out. I mean, we have, the thing is we have four hosts, and we all have very different experiences and backgrounds, and we have a variety of genres that we publish in. So there's usually at least one or two of us that have some experience in whatever it is, right. Or at least have touched base on it. So you get to benefit from our experience and our bubbles.
Yeah. Our diversified experiences.
Yes, our diversified experiences.
Like your revenue streams, our experiences, both diversified.
Exactly. All right, well, we're going to wrap things up today, and I hope you enjoyed the podcast, and join us next week for another episode of Bound by Books. Bye.
Bye.
Wait! Before you go, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and check us out on our website, boundbybookspodcast.com.